and some pals, and there's also therapy too.
Okay, people, we're doing it. We're here in all of our flannel fall goodness. If you're not watching, you can't be watching because I only do clips on TikTok. But anyway, I am wearing flannel. Am I happy about it being fall? I mean, whatever. You know what I mean? It's like, whatever. I don't like that it's getting dark right now. I mean, it's dark when I get off work and I'm really upset about it. But whatever. That's not what we're here to talk about, okay? Let's get going because we have a lot to talk about that actually is on topic. Season 6, Episode 9, Cones of Dunshire. Oh my God, so exciting. There's so much going on in this episode. We've got so much to discuss. The original air date here was November 21st, 2013. So we are really close to the timeline of when this actually came out, which is great. It was 12 years ago. I think when I heard that the name or saw that the name of this episode was Cones of Dunshire, I definitely was thinking about when the guy from Workaholics was playing against Ben during the Cones of Dunshire game that they had somehow found, which is stupid, right? Obviously, because Grizzle is not there yet, which is exactly what that whole thing is about. But anyhow, it's just, you know, it goes to show the Cones of Dunshire lives on in more than one episode, and it's very exciting for me. Okay, so this was written by Dave King, who we've seen a ton of episodes from. He's also a Lurpus who makes appearances throughout the show too, which is great. He is also married to Esther Povitsky, I think is her last name, who played the snow cone lady at the mini golf, which was wonderful. Loved that. To learn that they were married and have a baby together. Super cute. And I would love to know, I wasn't sure. I've tried to reach out to Dave King, but obviously I don't have that information. Otherwise you would hear from it. But I'd love to know if he's the one that came up with Cones of Dunshire, if they came up with this in the writer's room, how this came to be. So I will actually do more research on that. That is not something that you need to worry about because I am on it, but you just need to know that I didn't get it for this particular episode. But I will. I make that promise to you. This was directed by Julie Ann Robinson, who is a first for Parks, which is really exciting. This is her first and only episode with Parks, but what an episode to be a part of. Oh my gosh. She has directed so many things. The Good Place, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Bridgerton. Oh my gosh. She also directed The Last Song, which is the Miley Cyrus movie. Oh my gosh. I love that movie. And if you know of the whole Miley, what is it, Liam Hemsworth, I think, that she was with, that whole drama situation, that was their movie together, which was super cute. If you're watching Hunting Wives right now, she directed 2 episodes of that. So many wonderful projects. As you can tell, Maddie is not with me, so I'm going to go ahead and play her summary now, but great team on the writer-director. So exciting. Okay, let us hear from Maddie.
Cones of Dunshire. What an epic piece of the Parks and Rec world, and I'm so sorry to miss it. But here is my very, very brief summary. Straight and to the point. Leslie fights for the Pawnee Commons one last time as a councilwoman. Ben goes to work at an accounting firm, finally. Ron sells his cabin. I don't think I've ever noticed until I've really listened and paid attention to this episode that Ben was only home for a week when he created Cones of Dunshire. Like, that's a pretty big feat to me to create an entire board game with that much complication that, as we learn later in the show, gains traction and popularity. And so I think that's pretty impressive. It takes me a whole week to get into vacation mode or even feeling like I could tackle something that was like a straight hobby of mine. So kudos to Ben on that. And I love that Leslie, like, even though she like asks him when he's going back to work, I do love that she just listens and she, you know, she's just there to support this thing that brings Ben so much joy. And so I think I get really frustrated with Jamm in this episode, but the therapist in me just feels really, really bad for him because he is lacking severe social skills. Something obviously has gone down with him as a person, and he has not recovered. Does that forgive the way he treats people? Absolutely not. But I think we get such an inside view into Jamm's world outside of outside of the city council, and he really just kind of has a sad life. Leslie has all these friends to go to and all these friends that are there to stick up for her, and he doesn't really have anybody, like so much so that it seems like he wants Leslie to be his new best friend, which is again showing us he has no social cues, because she's probably the last person that wants to be friends with him with everything he's pulled, and especially what he's pulling in this episode. Because to me, it is 100% a reasonable ask that she's asking for those funds to be set aside for what they have been meant to be used for. And so, that's my take on all of that. Again, not okay. I'm not excusing his behavior or allowing it due to whatever trauma he might have experienced, but there's a lot going on there. I love how the cabin ends with Ron, that he just wants it to go to somebody who's going to love it and use it the exact same way he wants it to. And I think in a perfect world, if those of us who, we didn't have to rely on the money coming in from selling something, we would want it to go to somebody like that. We would take a quarter and a button or whatever she gives him and go for it. Give it to somebody we know is going to find meaning in it. So I think this is just such a representation of what we wish we could do if we didn't need the money from selling the things that we have to sell. I also love April's tactics as she tries to help sell the house. That's also hilarious to me. Ben going to work at the accounting firm. I love seeing him thrive at something and him being back at his roots and being at the accounting firm. And it makes me so happy to see him here, because I've always felt so bad that he keeps leaving them. So seeing a little bit of his life here at the accounting firm is really nice, to get a full episode of it and not just like a 2-minute scene of he now works here and okay, he's quitting again. So those are my thoughts. That's my summary. And I know that Holly's going to talk you through just amazingly, as she does through this episode.
Yay! Oh my gosh, yeah, so many great points. Only a week for the Cones of Dunshire to have gotten through the completion of it. Obviously, as he's talking, he's still working through kinks and things like that, but I think that's great. I actually have a note that I don't think Leslie was being supportive at all. Although I do understand the point that you're trying to make, as far as not interrupting or not saying this is total shit. You know what I mean? It's more subtle / subtext. That's so funny. But I'll talk more about that a little bit later. But you're right. Yeah, she is just trying to be there for him and listen. And Jamm is totally lonely. He has no life. He's all talk, no walk, no game, no nothing. So we will get into that as well, especially with his fantasy of people that he has and he talks about his wife that apparently left. We haven't heard anything about that, so very intriguing and weird. We'll get there. Anyway, okay, so we talked about, we start this episode with Ben getting ready to show Leslie something. He's covering her eyes. Babe, are you ready? No, babe, are you ready? He's in his kind of relaxation 90s moment we were talking about in previous episodes, kind of depression era, depression outfit, which is funny because it reminds me of Tom's YouTube blazer, and thinking pajamas or whatever. This is kind of Ben's relaxation depression shirt with his Letters to Cleo shirt. We haven't seen their house in a while, which I think that's really fun to be reminded of where they live and, this really beautiful house that they have together. So that's cool. So we're recapping that he got fired from Sweetums because of Leslie. She apologizes again, but it's okay. Blessing in disguise. And he took a job with the accounting firm that we have had many mentions of, and it doesn't start for a while. So he's been cooking up something pretty big. And like Maddie said, yes, it has only been a week. He has a week in between, which I think is funny because I think that it's funny that Leslie, of all people, is kind of judging him when she would be trying to do the same thing, but in a different way. She would be trying to accomplish something, create something, achieve something, doing something that probably Ben might not even understand either. So I think it's a kind of funny irony flip-flop, if you will. Let's see. Oh, last time it was claymation, she says. So this should be different, hopefully, when he wasn't in his job last time. Then it's revealed that he has made Cones of Dunshire, which is a brand new gaming experience. And I also really love that they named the episode after this because we don't really see a ton of it until the beginning and the end. You know what I mean? But I don't know. So that's another question I have. Like, did we know that we were going to bring this back? This is something that I absolutely need to make sure that I ask. Did we know COD was coming back? I'm going to ask all these questions, you guys. And I'm sorry that I'm kind of like Ben in the moment where I'm working through the kinks that I need to ask the producers. Okay. Or writers. All right. So, yes, honestly, I think it sounds so fun. There's a wizard, an arbiter, the ledgerman who basically just keeps score, but he wears the hat. This sounds like a D&D Settlers of Catan vibe, even a little bit of Monopoly going on as far as like the land that you sell and acquire and all that kind of stuff. You've got the fantasy type situation. You've got a leader. What is it called? Oh God, you guys are going to get so mad at me. Like, what's it called when you're a D&D like master or whatever the hell, and you're the one that's kind of like leading the story or whatever? Love that too. Anyway, shout it out if you know it. So I did some research on the actual game as far as the reality, if you will, and it was never published officially. However, a complex playable version was created for charity at the 2014 Gen Con gaming convention, and a special retail edition of the game is available online for purchase at the Game Steward. Now, when I think they say when it wasn't officially published, it's like not through NBC. You know what I mean? Like Peacock/NBC did not sponsor the game or did not make the game themselves, but whatever this Game Steward website is, has it. It's sold out right now. I will post a link, but it explains everything. So yeah, someone made it. And in 2015, so the convention was in 2014, and then in 2015, Mayfair Games, which are the makers of Settlers of Catan, like we talked about, launched a Kickstarter campaign to produce a real playable version, but it failed because if you pledge $150, you got a deluxe game box, not the actual game, which required a $500 pledge. So Mayfair Games, if you'd like to talk to me and explain yourself, not in a bad way or a judgy way, just to explain what is going on here, if it was really made, if it's out there right now, please let me know. But yeah, so I'll post a link so you can see what it's all about, and it, you know, if it ever becomes available again. I don't think it will, but you never know, man. Keep checking. Okay, so Leslie is already, this is where I kind of get into my idea of like, are we supporting or not supporting? Where Leslie's like, oh dear, this is terrible. Her face says it all, like as Ben is talking, but Ben is so excited, and it's so cute how like into it he is. It's so intricate. It's so detailed. I guess if I was in Leslie's position though, if I'm being completely fair, and I had seen Ben go through this depression in between jobs before, and we saw that the claymation was compared to Avatar, and it really was terrible, then maybe I would be a little bit more judgmental as well. But as an outsider, as an audience member, I was like, holy shit, you completed this whole fucking game in a week? And it looks really good. Where'd the cones come from? How did you come up with this? Like, it's so detailed. I also love that he says you roll the dice to see how many dice you roll with. So like that's a whole other part of the game that I thought was really funny to me. And it's actually longer in the deleted scenes. There's more detail even. They didn't cut a ton out. So it's not as if there's more that we're missing, a ton more that we're missing. But he comes up with cone covers, and he compares it to like covers to your iPad. You'd have covers for your cones. So if you were to take them to play somewhere, maybe a traveler edition, travel pack vibe, that's what he was saying. There could be all this like merch and cone accessories. And he's taking notes as he's talking and thinking. It's so good. Adam Scott really nailed this. Like he had to memorize so many random ass things. I know that Adam Scott like would be into this, I feel, as himself. So maybe that really helped with the fun of it all. But yeah, I just love that he has his little notepad, and he's like, oh my gosh, this, I didn't think of this. Oh my gosh, are the cones a metaphor? Yes and no, maybe. And then in a little bit of a pause, Leslie like forgets the name, and she's like, what is this called? In her kind of judgy face, and Ben's like staring at her like, Cones of Dunshire, like what? And she's like, when do you go back to work again? And he's like, this is nothing, right? I'll just throw it. Don't worry. I'll just throw it in the garbage. I was shocked. I was like, do not throw this in the garbage, okay? Even if it goes nowhere, you need to keep this somehow in some capacity. Maybe not even have it like on a shelf to display, but you need to not throw it away for a little bit, okay? Because it is so beautiful and detailed and you worked really hard on it. Don't throw it in the garbage. This is so much better and more thought out and more complete than claymation. I don't even think it's a comparison apart from the fact that you did it in between jobs. You know what I'm saying? Amazing. I was going to say also, Leslie isn't really a D&D like Settlers of Catan person, so she's not fully getting it, which I totally understand. But I still feel like she could appreciate the like intricacy of it. However, like I said, we do notice like when she is supportive, even though she doesn't get it, like when she when she gives him the Game of Thrones throne, a literal throne, and she has no idea what to say or how to, role play with him. So that's funny. But anyway, no, I totally hear what you're saying about Leslie being supportive and just listening. But to me, I was like, Leslie, the excitable person, when anyone completes anything, this was so not the vibe. But like I said, I don't mean to repeat it, but she has reason. When this happened last time, it was not good. Okay, moving on. So now the city council is meeting for one of the last times Leslie is on the council, and stupid Jamm made basketball hoops with his name on it that he can't even make a shot into. Dummy. And Leslie brings up the Pawnee Commons, which, damn, what a long way we've come. We haven't talked about the Pawnee Commons in a long time. Probably not since Eagleton, right? Like when they were trying to design the actual park with the Eagleton fella. So I don't know where we went with that project. But anyway, the money is in a fund, and she wants a guarantee that the fund will not be touched. And she wants to move it to a lockbox because this was specifically for the Pawnee Commons. And I absolutely agree with her. Just like Maddie said, this is totally her right / reasonable ask to request this. So, but they don't leave the meeting with anything settled. Jamm says, let's talk about it. The second Nope is gone. And at this point, he's just being an ass. He's not even trying because he's just like, whatever, I don't like you. Let's move on. Even though he totally wants her to be his best friend. Men aren't lonely enough. Okay, moving on. Although I do understand from a therapy standpoint, like Maddie said, yeah, something's going on. He's super lonely and something socially is going on. So, okay. All right, so moving on to the next scene, Tom calls Ron Video Ron Demand, which I love. I love all those names. And it's like Ron Demand. I don't know if that was really what it was supposed to be, but you can also hear demand and video on demand. Anyhow, Ron says it's time to sell his cabin, and we learn that Donna has her real estate license, which is awesome. Regal Meagle, find your castle. I love that so much. And Donna Meagle is so regal, so that's a perfect tagline for her. Fun fact, Donna is wearing the same clothes in the picture on her real estate business card as she is when she shows Ron the card. So I think that's really funny and so hilarious. So Ron right now hasn't had luck selling the house because, first of all, it's just not well done. The buyers, when they read whatever Ron wrote, it looks really creepy. There's shotgun shells, animal carcasses. He's saying he's not going to move those things. There's no information for the buyers, so it's just not moving. But Donna says that she could help with her new real estate license, and Tom jumps in and says, let me help you, and we can split the commish. Which I love. Split that commish. I don't know how they come up with these singing moments. It's so good. So Tom has a talking head talking about what kind of mogul to be. So he's trying to be a real estate mogul now and seeing where that goes. So now we're at the accounting firm and we see Barney again. Oh my God, so good. John Balma, our Trekkie, wonderful actor who we interviewed a while back. I'll post that in the show notes. We love him so much. Thank you, John, for coming on. That was so fun. Maybe I should do a redo of that because he is just a delight. So I'll repost that on an off week. So good. Okay. Oh, and then he yells for Ted. I love that we keep bringing that inside joke back because we never meet Ted, which is amazing. But we do meet Frank, who took the job when Ben passed it up, and he's a super creepy, super judgy dude to Ben. Great character. He's like, hope you can live up to the hype, because you can't in my head. And it's really fun to see those two characters have opposite feelings towards Ben, because it's just fun for an audience to watch the total polar opposites, but both could kill him. I remember Frank, the actor. His name is Bob Bancroft from Xenon, Girl from the 21st Century. Do you guys remember him? He tricked Xenon into getting like whatever chip thing that they needed, and he plays this like super creepy dude. And oh my god, he's done a ton of other things. I will say he's a little typecast as the creepy dude, but he was on Xenon, and we love. It's so fun to see him on this. Also, I feel like he's been the same age for the last 50 years. I feel like some time stopped, and he looks exactly the same. But yeah, so that was a fun little anecdote. So Leslie's talking to Anne on the phone. She is in Michigan, which is how she's been gone. It's been 3 episodes, I believe, or at least 2, because she wasn't in the last one either. And I was like, intriguing. Or maybe she was only in like a brief second. You know what I mean? I'm still not sure what Rashida was filming or what was going on at the moment, but she was filming like during the 2013-14 time when, this would have been out. She was in a movie called Decoding Annie Parker and another movie called Cuban Fury. But I mean, she has a bunch of stuff on our IMDb during this time when this was shot, so I'm really not sure what exactly was going on. But yeah, so that's why Chris has to do a lot of the heavy lifting as far as telling Leslie stuff, which I have notes on later. So Chris is trying to talk to the baby, but the phone is already hung up. Like he's trying to talk to his baby over the phone, but clearly Leslie is no longer talking on the phone. So Leslie wants Chris to help with the Jamm Pawnee Commons situation, but he can't because of being city manager. So it's like a conflict of interest moment, but he does support her, one-on-one, or like peer. Well, I was going to say peer-to-peer, but I guess mentor-ish, coworker to coworker, friend to friend vibes. And she's keeping score. Oh my gosh, this color-coded score between Jamm and her. They are tied, and she needs to win. That's hilarious. So she's like, will you help me? And he stands up with this like big dramatic gesture. You'd think he's going to say yes, and then he says no. And that's a really funny bait and switch. I do love this line. Oh my gosh. He's like, I can't really like help you win or whatever, but I can mediate like Dr. Phil, only qualified. I remember when I first heard that line, that was fucking hilarious. It's so good. So Dave King, if you wrote that, well done, sir. Whoever wrote that, oh my gosh, applause. So now at Ron's cabin, he says he's selling because he bought a new cabin for the whole family. And we learn that he actually has 4 cabins. And then he turns to Cameron's like 2 because he doesn't want to get too personal. So I guess they'll sell her house too. Because, remember she was in a house when they all went trick-or-treating and stuff. So just curious about that. But yeah, because they were all asking why he's selling, and he just bought a big cabin for the whole family. So that's fun. So Donna and Tom are trying to get the old cabin together for staging. They are hanging antlers and scarves off the antlers. And then she's like, that'll look legit next to the France posters or vintage France posters, visit France posters, whatever the hell. All the things to make it sellable to buyers. And Ron is losing it. He grunts like an animal and is like, oh my God. And so April tries to like calm him down, which is nice. And it is cute that Tom is trying to find ways to make his entrepreneurship alive again, to try to find ways that he can, channel his rent-a-swag energy into something else. He really is trying to find what's going on. And I think that's really helpful because I feel like other people in Tom's situation might just be like really upset, depressed, whatever. But he does have the money now. So I'm glad to see that he's kind of moving on and seeing what else he can do. Oh yeah, and it's fun that Donna is showing hers too. And I made a note. I was like, can I just say that I feel like they waited a full 6 seasons to really use Donna and to really understand like how and what Retta has to offer. I'm so glad they're doing it now because it was so annoying not to for such a long time. And I totally understand, like, we need to focus on Leslie and Ben at this time, and Anne's leaving at this time, and whatever. But I'm just, anytime Donna has more scenes and character and energy. Retta is just truly the queen. And I'm so like mad in a way that they didn't use her more, or find more ways to get her in there, because she's so good and it's always just enhances the show. Okay, so now the accounting firm brings Ben all this paperwork, their toughest case yet. This is again where we have the tough opposites between Barney and Frank. Ben has a talking head and he says, if I'm murdered tonight, start the investigation with those two guys. And they're just standing behind the glass, staring at him creepily in completely different ways. So now Chris and Leslie are going to Jamm's house, and this is a totally different looking house than last time, because last time we saw his house, they were looking for a dog park. April, Leslie, and Anne, and they brought the dogs to Jamm's house so that, you know, they would all like poop and play on his yard and he would have to figure something out. So maybe he moved and upgraded, because this looks crazy fancy now with the columns and the concrete stairway and all that stuff. So very curious. But he answers the door in a kimono. Gross. And she says she wants to talk about the lockbox, and she's not leaving until they discuss it. Chris is wearing his referee uniform to show he's being the mediator and that he's going to be neutral during this time. Fun fact, the sleeve patch on the right arm of Chris's referee shirt is a sleeve patch for UEFA Champions League, which is a European soccer competition for the best teams. So that's cool. In Europe's football or soccer. Yeah, it's soccer. I'm sorry. I said European. Did I say soccer? I don't know. It's a European soccer competition for the best soccer teams in the league. So that's kind of cool. UEFA Champions. So Jamm says that he respects the moxie when Leslie says, you know, I'm not leaving until it's done. And Amy Poehler, I thought that was funny, actually has a movie called Moxie, which I love, that she is the director of. You guys should go watch that. I believe it's on Netflix. Although I know Moxie is used a lot, especially when it regards, like, you know, powerful women. But I just thought that was a nice little takeaway. So Jamm is just really weird. He has pictures of the golfer Michelle Wie. He photoshopped her in a bikini and says his wife is out of town for 8 months, maybe forever. Like, who is this wife? And it's very strange because we learn so much like creepy, weird stuff about him in just those little tiny sentences. And that he photoshopped it himself. Like, that's so weird. He clearly has a fetish with the Asian culture, especially Japanese people. And it was just like real weird to watch, to be honest. But it totally shows like how Jamm is just like unaware of what's happening. And like, I don't know, just some, like Maddie said, a little bit of the social norms are just not there. So Leslie says, we're going to stay the night, start fresh in the morning. I don't really understand why. Why does she want to start fresh in the morning? Like, did she intend to make a weekend out of this? Or I don't get it. So maybe someone can shed some light on that. He says Leslie can use the couch to sleep on if she can get the exercise equipment out of the way. And they're like 2-pound weights that she picks up with one hand. That was really funny. So then the next morning, for some reason, Jamm has a Benihana stove oven surface thing cooking eggs. I say for some reason. I know it's because of the fetish now with the Asian stuff, but it's just like, okay. So he bought that for, I think he said $8,000. My God. And it's gross. But too, Leslie's shirt says my mouth got jammed. So he's giving that out to his clients, which I'm sure some are kids. Hopefully the parents use their discretion. Oh, God. No. He's like a creepier version of the dentist in Little Shop of Horrors. Nope. Okay, moving on. So Leslie has beers, some brewskis that she is trying to entice Jamm with, and a calendar of female wrestlers to get Jamm in the mood to talk. So he likes powerful and strong women. Sounds like sports women of some type as well. Then we move on to the next scene which is back at the cabin. There are these two people there, and they are very like indie hipster people. they're like, this cabin's so random. And April does her classic morphing personality, which I would love to know. Like, did April do this at one point? Or sorry, Aubrey do this at one point, and then they just wrote it in a couple times? Because now she's done this a lot, and I love it. Maybe they wrote that in, because I think the first time we saw it was when she did the campaign calls, and she was, doing all these different accents to get people to donate. And so maybe they just saw that after they wrote that and was like, she could keep doing this. So that was really good. She pretends to be like these indie hipster people to try to help Ron sell his cabin. So the gal in this couple of indie hipsters is Megan Amram, who is a writer for Parks, which I love. She also writes for A Man on the Inside, which is another Mike Schur show, The Good Place, Silicon Valley, a bunch of other things. So that is super fun. And I would have never known that she was a writer on the show had I not been doing this podcast and researching that. So that's fun. And the guy is played by Rob Kirkovich, I believe is how you say it. And he's been in so many things. NCIS, Chasing Life, House of Lies, New Girl, a ton of things. They were both so great together. I loved it. I loved that they were both so unbearable as these indie hipster people. And the wardrobe was fantastic. It was so funny. So well done on that. Especially, and he's just so funny, especially his later line about the mustache that sets Ron off. Rob actually did get back to me, so I'm going to put his voice memos. I haven't received the voice memos yet, so I'm going to put that in the next episode when I get them. That'll be super fun. All right, so this is where April's driving up the value and trying to get these weirdos to buy the cabin. Her words. And she's talking about Dave Eggers, who is an author, publisher, Nico Case from the band called The New Pornographers, and Ben Gibbard, who is obviously from Death Cab for Cutie, which I love. They're all indie alternative people. So good. I knew who Nico Case and Ben Gibbard were because that band in middle school that you just bleed for? That was Death Cab for me. The band that you went into Hot Topic and was like, yo, I gotta have that shirt. That was Death Cab for me. So obviously I knew who they were, but I did not know Dave Eggers, which I'm sure I should know, and I'm sorry about that. So I'll have to do more research on him and read some of his stuff. Anyhow, so back at the accounting firm, it's Saturday. We're still working on the tough case. Barney's so cute. He's just looking at Ben with such awe and reverence. It's so cute. I love it very much. He did such a good job with that. And then Ben solves this tough case, and Barney is so precious and says oh my gosh, wait, Ben, let me turn on a light as you're having the idea. Let's do it again. And I just love that Ben goes along with it. It's such a good energy, good vibe when he's like, yeah, I'm with you. It's so cute. I love this dynamic so much. And it makes me so sad that Ben doesn't stay working with him, because I feel like he could have such a good life and a happy life if he were to stay in that accounting firm. And I always go back and forth because obviously I know that he, his whole goal from the beginning of the freaking show was to be in government, to be a leader in government. But I'm always like, can you please just stay at the accounting firm for longer than 2 days so that, you can just be happy and carefree and living your best life with people that adore you. Champagne problems. Okay. So anyhow, I believe this won over Frank too, because Frank, he doesn't really smile or anything, but he's no longer judging. I feel he's kind of just in shock almost, oh my God, we didn't think of that. So I love that moment too. And yeah, I gotta be, I don't know. I know I keep repeating it, but I just love seeing Ben being so confident and so nerdy and so in the zone. It's really a delight. So now we're at negotiations for the lockbox, and it's gross because Jamm thinks you eat the shells of the edamame and not the beans. And Leslie's trying to suck up to him and be like, you really immerse yourself in this culture. You know what you're talking about. Gross. So Leslie keeps wanting to negotiate, and she suggests singing karaoke to sing Grease. And Leslie should be Zuko. Oh my God. And apparently her line of, you enjoy the ancient art of karaoke in that accent is almost identical to a line that she said in Baby Mama, where she says, I was just practicing the ancient Japanese art of karaoke. Really funny. when they start to sing, I was like, ew, you guys have ruined karaoke. It's supposed to be like a fun, goofy, silly, fun moment. And this just feels dirty, like you're dirtying up this lovely tradition. But I do understand. I also love that Jamm has his pink ladies outfit jacket zipped all the way up, and it's like form fitting for him. That part's funny. And Chris wants to buy like 1,000 DVDs of the karaoke performance. Oh my God. Okay, so now Ron is finally fed up at the cabin open house situation. He's like, okay, get out of here. I hate everyone. But Tom and Donna are like, no. And Tom is like, yeah, that's like the selling point of this place is the creepy old guy who owns it. And then he kind of kicks everyone out. This is after the mustache line. Okay, you might hear Phoebe a little bit, my cat. Okay, so Jamm says he'll sign something after the karaoke moment saying for 1 year they will hold the money and they won't use it for Leslie, for anyone other than Leslie. But Leslie wants to start now, not a year. She wants this now. And she goes off and she says, screw you. And Chris puts a card on her, like a flag on the play, essentially. And I don't know. I know I'm always on Leslie's side for the most part. I can mostly call out when she's being a little unfair. But for this, I was like, yeah, she does deserve to have it now. This is her money. These funds were saved for this. I understand her reasoning is not necessarily reasonable, but the actual funds need to go to her now. I don't understand why he needs it to keep it for a year anyway. That's stupid. I'm sure there's some government reason, but Jamm, going off of a government reason, no, I don't believe that for 1 second. So anyway, I don't understand. But then we learn that she's pushing this so hard because Leslie really wanted the lockbox money for Anne, because maybe Anne would stay if she could get the park together, because that's why they became friends. And it is a lovely moment for Leslie to reflect on this. But then we learn this terrible secret, which I hate that she's learning from Chris. We learn that Anne is actually going to sign a lease on their new home in Michigan. Chris says they have family there and it's great. Plus Chris has a new job lined up there. I hesitate to use the word hate. I am so upset that Leslie had to find out that that Anne was signing a lease on a new home from Chris. That seems so, I would be frustrated. I would not be happy about that. I would understand why you would hesitate to tell me, because obviously I would be sad and upset and all these things. But this is just going back to what I've talked about ad nauseum on this podcast about Anne and Chris and how everything is so fast, so unthought about, and so disrespectful to me as an audience member. Okay, I know I'm making too big of a deal about it, but I feel like that was really weird to just throw that in, like, oh yeah, we are officially moving, and you're hearing that from Chris, not your best friend who's like leaving you. That doesn't seem right. Okay, this reminded me so much of In the Office when Mindy Kaling is talking about oh my god, Glee. She's talking about Glee, and she's like, oh, Finn and this and Mr. Schuster this and whatever. Honestly, that show, it's irresponsible. That's how I feel. Anyhow, okay. All right, so Jamm wants to be friends now. He's not sure if they're coming back because Leslie's kind of pissed at this point. I think she's like, whatever, I'm just going to leave. He won't give me the money. Chris and Anne are officially leaving. I didn't even get told about this, which she doesn't seem upset about that part in particular, but whatever. It's just over. And Jamm is like, we're wrapping up the weekend. What are we doing here? Which I guess to Jamm's credit, he thinks it's fine because he gave her the money. It's a year that it's going to be locked up, but he did do the negotiation. You know what I mean? So I think to him, he was like, okay, we're on good terms now. Like, how do we keep this party going? So now back at the accounting firm, they surprise Ben with a calzone party. Oh my god, so fun. His wink when he goes back. And I'm so obsessed with this part when he has that calzone in his hand and he goes into the office of cheering people and he looks back at you and he gives you that. Okay, I can't wink but it is so hot. Not only as Adam Scott, but as Ben. I was like, oh my God, Ben, you are so sexy. You're confident. You're nerdy. You are eating a calzone. You're just in your zone, man. Respect. And hot. Okay. So, there was something online posting about how after the calzones at Ben and Leslie's wedding, like the taste test or whatever, those mini calzones gave them food poisoning, and he said he'd never eat them again. God is my witness, I'll never eat them again. They've betrayed me. But now he's eating them again. I will say, if we're nitpicking, those ones were mini calzones, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, and these ones were regular size calzones. So I think we can give him a bit of grace. Now we're in Leslie's office and she's looking at a Leslie and Ann best friend slideshow, which is very sad. And she's got the Sarah McLachlan going. I think it's her. Na 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 na. Yeah, that one. And Chris says, it's not that far to Ann Arbor. And you know what? I did look it up, and Indianapolis to Ann Arbor is 4 hours. So depending on, kind of where Pawnee is, give or take 4 to 5 hours, which, yeah, really isn't that bad, truthfully. Especially if you're going to do a long weekend, or even like you could totally, this would be too much, but you could leave work on Friday, hang out on Saturday, come back Sunday, or even come back Saturday. Like, it's really not that bad. Especially with how far some of my friends live away, like 4 to 5 hours would be dope. But she's still not in the same town, not in the same office, not in the same city hall, down the hall. You know what I mean? But she can't see that 4 to 5 hours is kind of a blessing yet. So, she says she's not singing Beauty School Dropout. It's sexist, and I don't do slow jams, because she's like, maybe we can negotiate. But Chris has a surprise / goodbye gift, which is totally out of character for him. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. But next we have Donna saying that the couple at the open house wants to offer way over asking price, which is very exciting. And Ron could be super successful with his sale of the house, or the cabin rather. But Ron says he doesn't care about the money. He's actually being very sentimental about it. And he just wants the next owners to have the same purpose as he had, which was to go up there, get away from the town. I was going to say city, but Pawnee's not really a city, but the point still stands that he wants to get away from people, just be by himself, have the solace, go hunting, do whatever he wants to do without the stresses of life, right? And April suggests that she buys it. She just kind of out of the blue. I didn't see it coming. I don't know if you guys saw it coming. Maybe I'll have to go back and watch, but just out of nowhere, she's like, I'll buy it. And Ron is not blowing her off immediately. And Ron questions what she'd use it for. And April's like, I'd get away with everyone, and get away from everyone, spend time with Champion Andy, look at spiders. And honestly, he says that it's the best offer he's ever heard, because the offer is not about the money. So it's just everything she has in her purse, which is, some coins. I think it was a button, maybe a gumdrop, or I don't know why I said gumdrop, like a throat lozenge or whatever the hell. But she also has Larry's asthma inhaler. Oh my God. It's now part of a real estate transaction, Larry. You have no legal claim to it. Oh my God. And Larry's hilarious because he's just like, I had no idea. So sorry. Which, sad that Larry has only been in it for a second. He actually hasn't been in as many episodes, I feel. And I'm not really sure why, if that was on purpose or not. I know that he has retired technically. But he came back, and now he's Larry as like the part-time temp or whatever the hell. So yeah, the whole Retta Jim O'Hare not being in it as much is strange to me, but that's okay. They'll become more in it in a moment. So, I kind of have a note that I felt like Donna did so much work, and Tom, I guess. So I don't feel like it's super fair. Really? I mean, I guess technically it was only one day, but still, like, they put a lot of energy and a lot of time into it. And especially like Donna, with her having been, a real estate licensed realtor, I feel like it was a little weird but I mean, the buyer gets to choose whatever they want to do. So anyhow, it's all right. So there's a very cute deleted scene. Also, I wanted to mention that April and Ron are sitting by the fire at the cabin, and it's very precious because April has a nice, sweet, thoughtful moment where she says, you can come back here whenever you want. Like, just let me know so Andy and I can clear out. And they have a few moments of silence. She spots some spiders and shows Ron, which is fun. But it's really sweet, and it definitely shows how they're becoming closer workplace proximity associates, if you will. And I don't think we see how close they're getting without the deleted scene. To be honest, just having seen the deleted scene and then having not, I think that maybe in further episodes you'll see that. But I'm just telling you guys as a Parks fan or Parks watcher, whatever, that it was short, but this deleted scene where they could just sit in silence and watch the fire together and know that Ron has kind of passed this cabin down to her is very special. And I think it's very meaningful for people to understand how close they're becoming and how hard it will be in the future for them to not work together anymore. No spoilers. Okay, loved it. So Chris is now telling Jamm that if he gives Leslie the lockbox right now, Chris will give him a huge IOU, even though, in parentheses, Chris won't even be there because he has another job. And he'll give him an IOU for next year, I believe he said. And that is so sweet of Chris. He is breaking the rules for Leslie when he says that he's going to give Jamm this IOU, even though he knows he won't be there. Because what a far way we've come from the trial of Leslie Knope. And I know that it's because he's leaving. I totally get that. But I still feel like, even if he wasn't leaving, he would still, even if he was leaving, his development wouldn't have allowed him to go against his morals like that. But I think I know that this idea, maybe I'm negating myself, but I just feel like this idea of him trying to ease the pain is a footnote. You know what I mean? Like, it's not the whole reason that he does it. I feel like he's doing it because he loves Leslie. But it is a side note that I'm sure he's doing because he also wants to make sure that Leslie feels safe and comfortable and not as hurt that they're moving. So anyhow, Jamm says, Leslie, you're my best friend too. Because Leslie says, I'm doing this all for my best friend. And that's, again, going back to Jamm is just a lonely dude who doesn't really understand like how to be friends with people. And it's very unfortunate. And we'll see even more of it when we get to Tammy 2 with Jamm. See the vote passed that she gets the park and she gets the lockbox or whatever. And Chris hopes that, like we talked about, that it eases the pain of them leaving. And Leslie's like, oh, I'm in deep denial that that's happening. And I love that she says it with a smile. But then we learn an even bigger kind of bomb dropped moment where Ben could be city manager. He has the votes according to Chris, who has talked to people, who has said like, I've put in a good word. I've heard from people. They like you. You could be city manager, bro, which is exactly what his whole life from Pawnee, from the start of the show, and his life really, I guess, has been leading to. And it's very special. But again, he says he'd be crazy not to take it. And then he immediately thinks of the accounting firm. So sad. They love him so much. But, so he goes in to quit and he gives them the Cones of Dunshire, which he says if anyone could appreciate it, it would be them. And I think that's so special. I love it so much. The gal and the guy, they're both say, I call ledgerman, blah, blah, blah. And it's super cute because you can see that these are his people. These are people that like really get him and he gets them. So he made the right choice giving the game to them. The gal who says I call ledgerman is named Stacey Allen, and she's done a lot of things too. A ton of voiceover work, which is awesome for games and animations. One's called The Elder Scrolls. That looks super fun. And I did get in touch with her, but she's in the process of moving, I think she said. So hopefully she'll be able to get me her voice memos on the next episode as well. And then the guy who plays the other accountant trying to be the ledgerman is Joseph Butler, and he's been in iCarly as the mean teacher, and his IMDb bio is really funny, saying he plays characters that have something off just a little bit something off about them, but you don't quite know what it is, but it's just intriguing enough to keep you guessing and to keep you interested. So that's a funny little moment about your characters. But anyway, well, you guys, that was Cones of Dunshire. I feel like I got through that one really fast. And I will definitely be doing my due diligence as far as checking in with who I can contact regarding my questions about the Cones of Dunshire in particular. I'll see if I can get in touch with Dave King or somebody that can help me understand this a little bit more. Thank you so much to Maddie for sending in her summary. Thank you to the actors that did message me back, and I can't wait to hear what you have to say. So think of this episode as a little bit of a teaser, and we'll get with you on the next one. Please don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. And hang in there, guys. That's all I have to say. We got this, and thank you so much for everything. Hopefully we can bring you some, respite. And good luck on all the things you have to do. Your job, your haircut, your pet visit, I don't know, your doctor's visit. Hope it goes well. All right. Talk to you guys soon. Bye.
There's a park and some pals, and there's also therapy too.